Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AAS YouTube channel. The good stuff here on the AAS Journals Data Editors series. So we've done a couple now. We've got a few to go. And in this one, we're going to talk about your article post-acceptance. And I'm super happy to have the AAS data editor, Greg Schwarz, with us today. Hey, Greg.
Or should I do this instead?
We can do that as well. But hey, I see something on your shirt there. What is Dot Astronomy?
What is Dot Astronomy? This Dot Astronomy is a really cool meeting that takes place every year. Let's see, this was number 8. I think they're on number 10 or 11 right now. It's sort of your unmeeting. There's no set topics per se. They usually have a few keynote speakers, but then every day you sit around on a big whiteboard and people toss ideas about what they want to sort of get together and discuss. And there's usually a big hack day in the middle, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a very different experience from sitting in just lecture after lecture after lecture. I don't know. I just never really got into that as a grad student. I was famous for being the one in the back sleeping.
Then so waking up and asking the best question ever, right?
No, that was not me. Sleeping through the whole thing.
So are they doing Dot Astronomy this year? Is it going to be online, virtual?
I think there were, from what I remember, and I actually haven't looked at it, but I think there was always going to be a virtual sub-meeting. Mm-hmm. And I think they were still trying to decide whether they would have the actual one. But, you know, as things are kind of progressing, my guess is probably not. So
okay.
That will be interesting to see how they handle that. But Dot Astronomy usually only takes about 60 or 80 people in order to keep the numbers sort of more manageable.
Right. Cool. All right. So authors, you have submitted your paper. It has gone through some pre-flight checks from the AAS statistics editor and the AAS data editors. It has entered the scientific peer review process. And perhaps after a spirited review process at times, you have gotten the acceptance notice that your article, yay, that your article is now going to be published in one of the AAS journals. So the main APJ, AJ, APJ SEP, APJ Letters, Planetary Science Journal, Research Notes. And now what happens? So now it begins the post-acceptance flight. And this is another time where the AAS data editors enter the scene. And Greg, what happens to an article after it's accepted?
Right, so for about 20% of our accepted manuscripts will be sent down the data editor's pathway. These have been sort of flagged at some point by the people at the editorial office that they need extra work. They might have machine readable tables or figure sets or something to that, or maybe something that we flagged at the beginning. Like they have a Zenodo repository containing their data, but the markup is not quite right in it, and we need to just tweak it so that it sails through production with our editors, with our publishers. So when that happens, generally every morning when the editorial team gets up and they look through their list of things to do, and they're finally at post accepts, they will start sending out emails saying, all right, this manuscript needs some work. This one needs this. And then Gus and I have our own system as to who does what. And then we start getting into it. In some weeks it can be very crazy because there's just a lot of them. They just keep coming. Rarely, we might have some quiet weeks where we can actually catch up on other things. Like I'm now trying to write my own referee's report for a competing journal. So it's nice to actually have a little break from these post-accept works to do other things that still need to get done.
Speaking of volume, let me show a plot. Let me bring this up. And this is the growth in data products.
Right. So what I'm trying to show on this plot here is that sort of aqua dotted line is the scaled number of articles that the AAS has published over the last 20 years. it's scaled down by a factor of 6. And what you see in the purple is the number of machine readable tables we've published. And you can see that for the first 15 years, it pretty much scales rather well. But in the last 5 years, it's jumped up considerably. And a lot of that is attributed to the fact that that's when we hired the other data editor, Gus Minch, on board, that we could suddenly do more than what we were doing before. Below that, you can see three other types of data products. The largest one is the animations, which we talked about in the 2 series ago. You can see that that's ramped up. It's always been popular with the solar physicists, but now it's starting to become even more popular, especially as, you know, a lot of these solar missions keep coming online.
Parker Solar Probe, right?
Yeah, definitely. Of which we have a whole special issue on in the supplement. So you can see that that's just growing, as you can imagine, especially as other people with other types of animations start to get into the game. Figure sets, clearly not as high a volume, but still on an upward trajectory. And then just to show that we have the interactive figures, the thing that's IF at the bottom. It's 0 for most of the time because it only started in 2016 roughly. And we've only done a handful at this point. But hopefully at some point, maybe if we come back and revisit this in 5 years or something, we'll see that that's rocketing up as well. So the point is that I think from this graph is that we don't lack for things to do here. And as the journals keep growing, and hopefully they'll continue to grow, we will keep expanding our repertoire of products and that we offer to people.
How often do you have to engage authors in the post-acceptance to either provide something or in a different format, or how much do you have to engage authors in a post-acceptance process?
I would say it's pretty rare that what we get is essentially perfect or doesn't require a review. Examples might be, as I said before, if someone had a Zenodo repository and they didn't quite have the LaTeX right for production, we could go in and tweak it. That does not need to be sent back. But the vast majority, probably 90% plus, always goes back to the author for comment. We never want to, it's one thing to take a look at a table and then, you know, we have the data, but formatting data is relatively easy. I find the tricky part is accurately describing the metadata. And I can look at a LaTeX table and say, okay, I think you mean that this is positions or these are radii or something like that, but I want to have the author verify that I've gotten it right or correct me when I'm wrong. So almost all of these things always go back just for at least what I call a sanity check at the end. So I think it also serves the purpose of, you know, making people aware of these products and kind of getting them used to what they look like and things like that. So it's a little bit of self-serving in that regard too, but it's good to bring people back in. And I don't think people have been, they haven't complained about it too much. The other part of your question is how often do we have to go back to authors because they've given us something unusable in essence. And that's really rare. Usually, like maybe, I don't know, 98% of the time we can crank through whatever you give us. It's only in very unusual circumstances that something is completely unusable. Or, I mean, a lot of times people are just cranking stuff out of their computer. And so if we can come back to them and say, hey, could you tweak these format outputs a little bit? That'll make my life a lot easier. So we're, you know, very flexible and we have tons of experience with this, and we can always lean on what we've learned from CDS to make things work. So it's usually not a problem.
Cool. Let's see, I guess from my own experience,
we done tables for you?
Huh?
Have we done something for you in the past? I've done so many, I can't remember everybody.
Well, as a scientific editor, you know, sometimes I would say on animations, you know, having a caption that accurately captures what is going to be in the animation can sometimes take a little back and forth.
Yeah. And we should stress that, you know, the reason we do that why we're kind of sticklers for descriptive animation text is because, you know, for people that can't download or can't view the video because maybe they just got the PDF or because of some disability can't see it.
Or bandwidth issues in some parts
Yeah,
of the world.
it just makes a lot of, it helps so much to be able to read about what's going on. I like to liken it to, I don't use closed captioning that often when I'm watching television, but if I've got some British show, you better believe.
Oh, British.
Yeah, have you ever tried to watch the Doctor Who when he's Scottish? It's not
Okay.
not easy
I
sometimes.
certainly turn it on for French movies or that I will watch on occasion.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that we're trying to get at with our whole journals in terms of accessibility, and that's just a small subset, is that you, with a little bit of extra work on an author's part or on our part to providing authors, we can make better products for everybody. So that's why we do that.
That's the goal. That is absolutely the goal. Cool. All right, and that will do it on your article post acceptance. And so, Greg, I want to thank you so much for your time today and talking about this. And everyone, we will see you on the next one as we continue on our journey in the AAS Journals data editors. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.